Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Ladyada, the engineer, with me, Mr. Ladyada. We've got a fun-filled and hopefully relaxing show to get through the next hour. Some special releases happening, lots of news and videos, giveaways, products. It's not out yet, eyeballs, and more.
Yep.
Mr. Ladyada, why don't you tell them what's on tonight's show?
On tonight's show, the code is dual diodes. Just a reminder, our discount codes do not work with Raspberry Pi things that are like hot off the press, as in if there happens to be one in the store later. So 10% off everything in store except for gift certificates, of course, and things like Raspberry Pi. We'll talk about some of our live shows, including Show and Tell, which we just had a few moments ago. A little bit of a recap from Desk of Ladyada, including the Great Search. We got JP's product pick of the week. Advanced manufacturing made right here in New York City. Got some factory footage we'll show off. Some projects from Noe and Pedro, including a speed up, fun other project that we're going to share this week too. Got some Ion and PI brought to you by DigiKey this week. It's from eSwitch. Got a little bit of a top secret. Getting back in the little short videos that we do to give you even more of a glimpse of what's going on. So we got one of those we're going to show this week. New products. We're going to answer your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. We answer the questions towards the end of the show, but sometimes we can, answer them when we see them too. We're going to talk about all that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer. Okay, so we interrupt this Ask an Engineer to give you a little bit of a reminder. I'm going to say some things right now. We're live. For all the live folks who watch our show, thank you. We're going to do something a little special for the folks that are watching live. So if you're watching this after it's live, that's the way it goes sometimes. So there's not going to be enough Raspberry Pi 5s out there. They're doing pre-orders. The best way to get it is from Raspberry Pi. They own two magazines, Magpie and Hackspace. Subscribe to those magazines, you get a code and you can purchase. Some resellers are getting them, and it'll be, a little bit at a time, and eventually there'll be more. But I saw on Tom's Hardware, there's already people selling Raspberry Pi 5s on eBay for, like $200. So this is a common cycle that happens over and over. Pre-orders are possible at some sites. Some sites aren't authorized resellers, are doing it anyways. So you can do it. You can pre-order. What we're gonna always do is stick to what has worked, which is if we have something in our store, you can purchase it. So besides like Adabox or subscription service, if there's something that you see that's in stock in our store, it means we physically have it and we can sell it. We do things like fraud protection and make sure people are only buying one per customer for things like Raspberry Pi. And we also have two-factor authentication that eliminated bots, essentially, in case y'all are wondering. Yes, it's possible for bots to do this stuff, but turns out that's a lot of work, and people don't want to do that. So if you want a Raspberry Pi 5, it'd be a very good idea to right now log into your Adafruit account and get ready. Please don't put this on social media just for the next couple minutes, because there's a lot of websites that look for when things are in stock and they tweet it and or exit or whatever you want to call it now. And we wanted to give the live audience a chance to get some of these. So if you're looking for a Raspberry Pi 4 GB,
We have those in stock already.
Raspberry Pi.
So four we have.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about
The
only
4 GB.
Yeah, so sorry. Raspberry Pi 5, 4 GB.
Yeah.
Just get ready if you want one, because we're going to put them in the store in just a few moments. But just log into your account, make sure two-factor authentication. The discount code doesn't work with this, of course. And if something happens and we run out of these, sorry, but we want to do something special for the live audience, because pre-order back orders, that doesn't work out because we're only going to get a few. So we want to let's do something for the folks who watch the show live every week. So this is my long-winded way of saying this, because we're gonna put them in the store right now.
Okay, and I just want to mention, we already have Pi 4s in stock. So if you don't need a Pi 5,
Oh yeah,
you can just buy Pi 4.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
still fun.
I'm disappearing.
Yeah, Ladyada is gonna disappear, and as she disappears, yeah, I'm gonna put the Pi logo. This is like the bat symbol.
Okay.
And what I'm gonna do is go to our website and show it on the screen here. And you can see Raspberry Pi 5, 4 GB. The product ID is 5812. feel free to put it in the chat. And then I'm gonna hit refresh. Okay, they're now in stock right now. See where it says $60, and it's in stock.
Yeah.
So
That means it's in stock. Okay, I'm back.
yeah, so that means it's they're in stock right now. And we have this is the first batch we have, and we know that they're going to go really fast.
Don't forget to have your 2-factor.
Yeah, so get
You
all that
actually
stuff.
probably have a minute if you want to we don't have the official power supplies. We do have the camera cables, and we do
Yeah,
have
buy some other stuff.
the heat sink thing if you want the heat sink thing that is in stock.
Yeah. So, we think about this carefully because when the Raspberry Pis first came out years ago, there wasn't enough either. And so what we said is instead of, so some people were charging more for them. This was, like, I don't know, almost 10 years ago. They're not gone yet. The folks are like,
Wait,
they're
what?
gone. No, they're not gone
No.
yet. They're still around.
We didn't know. Yeah, where this is
They're still there.
You have a chance.
They're still there. So like 10 years ago or so when the Raspberry Pi first came out, people were charging more, they were doing things that were making it really hard to get them. So we just said, well, if someone bought, I think it was like $300 worth of stuff on our store, we'll just give you one for free, because that was a way to get these out there to the best customers in the community at the time. We wouldn't do that now because that's not the point of Raspberry Pi. When these first came out, it was very new. And I looked around. There was a lot of like influencers that got these. There's some, and they're like, "Here's Raspberry Pi," and they read off the specs and stuff. Some resellers will have a small number, but those pre-orders, back orders, will go out, and then they have to wait again. And we thought, well, we could always switch up doing that, but I think if you're purchasing something nowadays, you always feel free to pre-order somewhere else. But if you're purchasing something nowadays, why not just get it from a place that's open source hardware? You're supporting us.
Oh, I still ask no power supply. We do not the official power supply hasn't shipped. You can use a Raspberry Pi 4 power supply, honestly, any USB-C power supply. You only really need 2 amps unless you're connecting a lot of other things. Still in stock, which means
we're still in stock.
Yeah, we're doing great.
So
we don't have the case for the USB. They didn't ship yet.
Yeah,
we only got the cables and the heat sink.
I did this kind of off biz hours. So the RPI locator just a second ago on Twitter, X, sorry, just picked it up. So if you're thinking of doing this,
you check out fast because now it tweets.
But no one was expecting this.
Yeah.
So we thought this might be a fun surprise for the small number that we got. So once again, these are Raspberry Pi 5s for gigabyte. And don't forget the discount does not apply. You can still use the discount for
It's our special thing for you. This is why watching live.
This is why live shows are fun.
Okay.
So anyways, and folks had a few minutes before RPI locator saw it. So that is our little fun thing that we're going to do. Yeah, folks got them. And thanks for watching the live shows. Well, y'all are our community. We're never going to please the angry jerks out there who just want to like resell these. Never going to please them. So what can we do? Stuff like this, make a live show special, make it fun. And yeah, they replied to their own tweet. They're like, "Whoa."
Yeah, no, because it's weird. Like, why?
So,
like, normally we do it in the morning, but it's because we have
and a few folks,
which our RPI locator should know.
A few folks have emailed me. They're like, "Can you give me any heads up?" I'm like, "Well, just watch our live shows." Because we don't know when things are going to come in ourselves sometimes. But I'm just like, if we're going to do something, let's try to take care of.
Just came in this morning.
Yeah, let's try to take care of the folks who watch the shows. There's always something special about live events. It's why you go to concerts. You can always listen to it on streaming, but there's something special about a concert. So anyways, I want to say thank you to everybody.
Okay.
Now, if you missed out, don't worry. Here's what you do. Just make sure you have an account, have 2-factor authentication set up, and be ready for the next time. So looks like a bunch of folks got them. So
I'm so glad.
That's good news. Okay. So, Ladyada, let's talk about the rest of the show.
Okay.
We do a bunch of live stuff, including show and tell. That was just on.
Yeah.
We had some folks come on the show and tell. Scott talked about the Scilabs event that he's doing tomorrow morning.
Stream.
So check it out. We're gonna I'll put the link in the chat, but check out the blog post, Discord, and you can tune in. I think it's available later too. And I'll just give you a little bit of a preview here. This is the Bluetooth app development with CircuitPython tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Time. Scott will be doing this. Other show and tell things, people and more. Scott showed the CircuitPython 9 updates, which has like these cool warning things when things change.
When we like to change things on major versions, and it even catches me unawares. And so I was like, hey, can we have warnings, like deprecation warnings, like we do in CPython? He's like, that's a good idea. I think we both agreed. So now, if you're using a deprecated function or library, it'll warn you and it'll tell you what to do as well.
So the other things that were on the show and tell, other people, places, things. JP showed this cool like power wash thing.
Yes, with guides coming soon.
That was a lot of fun.
3D power wash controller.
Yeah, Liz has this really cool scoreboard that shows sports and chess stats. She's playing chess right now. You can see who's winning in their household, sports scores, weather, and more. And then Aaron went to Maker Faire. Maker Faire's back in the Bay Area. This is the Mare Island Maker Faire, and showed not only her projects and more, but some of the projects that she saw, makers she interviewed, and people she met. We have those on our YouTube channel, but you can also check out the show and tell if you want to see Aaron's trip to Maker Faire. Show and tells every single week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Come by, show and share the things that you've made. We'll see you there next week. We do From the Desk of Ladyada every single week. It's in 2 parts. What did you show in part 1 this week?
Okay, part 1, I talked about a script that I wrote, and I wrote a script that I wrote with some help from ChatGPT, and I published to the Adafruit Playground, which we'll chat about a little bit later, about how to clean up your Arduino library folder. So I have hundreds of libraries that I help maintain, and they're constantly being updated, and I have to make sure that I'm on the right branch, and that, you know, if I do a PR, I have to go back to the main branch, and then if somebody else does a PR, I want to make sure that I grab it. And it's like, how do you basically do a git pull on hundreds of subfolders? Also deleting old versions of libraries, since I don't need old versions because we're starting to slow down the IDE. So I wrote a script. It's really useful and handy, and I think other people who write a lot of Arduino libraries will find it helpful as well. I also showed I'm getting back to working on the Pi camera, the CircuitPython capable camera. I got some photos being taken. I designed an LED front plate that will like be able to do colorful effects and ring lighting. I also showed off, what else did I show off? I also did a QR code demo. And also I did a redesign of the 3.5-inch TFT Featherwing. And also demoed that this classic ThingPulse weather station is now updated for the latest version of the 2.4-inch Featherwing. So just one of the many, up to like 480 redesigns. And it's just a slog.
Yeah. And The Great Search, brought to you by DigiKey. Ladyada helps you find the things you're looking for on digikey.com. What did you show or find? Sorry, this week.
So I looked on social media and I saw someone post a GPU board that is that got damaged from overheating or overcurrenting, who knows what. And they didn't want to throw away the GPU board. They wanted just to replace the power connector. And so I was like, last week on The Great Search, I showed how to identify connector using calipers that you had physically, like if you had connector on hand. But this time I'm like, how can we find a replacement connector when we don't even have it in front of us from a photo? So some things to look for: notches, how to guess what the pitch is of a big connector. And we found the connector, it's only 60 cents. So if you have a GPU board, apparently this is like a standard GPU power connector, and you damage the power contacts, I found a couple options that are in stock at DigiKey.
Yeah. And just to tune everyone into the festivities, we still have them in stock. So
I didn't notify people.
Yeah, we didn't send out the notifications. Maybe we will.
I will as soon as we go to the next break.
So here's an interesting thing. With RPI Locator, with Twitter X, kind of being demolished because it's a garbage stat factory that just makes everyone miserable.
That's a nice
I think not as many people are like watching Twitter anymore.
No,
So it's also 8 o'clock at night. So
Yeah, it's
so
late.
usually these evaporate, and we usually do it during business hours. So I think we got lucky right now. So I'd say if you're on the fence, go for it, because we're probably going to send out some of the email
Yeah,
notifications.
they'll be gone.
Then they'll be gone for sure. But that's good to know. I think we'll probably do this again in the future. But we
Maybe,
just
yeah, when we get more.
maybe we'll do
I'll
it like
say-
during a desk of Ladyada. We got all sorts of things we could do.
So I do think like 80% of the people who were signed up in Raspberry Pi 4s were not actually going to use them. They were selling them on Facebook.
Yeah, a
Right.
lot of
Which is
folks
very
were-
frustrating because
yeah.
like it's a self-perpetuating issue. Like the fewer people that get them, the more the
Yeah.
value is. And I think also there was probably some like newsletters that went out that were like, hey, you want to make money from home? Buy Pi 4s and sell them
Yeah.
on eBay, and people got into it. I don't think they don't keep track of the Raspberry Pi releases. I don't think they're like, oh yeah, let's do the Pi 5.
I also think 8 p.m. on a Wednesday is a weird time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good
anyways,
to know.
keep going to kids.
Yeah, let's just see. There's 98 left.
Okay, so we've
It is
half gone.
Yeah, it is starting to dwindle. Okay, that's good to know. Let's finish our live recap of the week. JP
Okay.
does a show every single week. He does a product pick of the week. Here's this week's highlight.
It is the piezo driver amp Stemma PAM8904. Here are the little gain switches. This actually is a AC element, and so it doesn't really matter which wire gets plugged in where. We have a 3-pin JST, and plugging that into a Metro RP2040 there. And you can see I've got my 3-volt power, ground, and then I'm running off of pin D5. I'm going to do a little reboot. So you should be able to hear that pretty well. Quiet this thing a bit. So that's the 1x gain. And that'll turn it off. And that is it. That is my product pick of the week. This week it is the Stemma Piezo Driver PAM8904.
And don't forget, there's JP's workshop tomorrow. I want to check out some of the stuff that JP's up to. And then Fridays, there's Deep Dive with either Tim or Scott. This week, it is Scott.
Yay!
So dig into the innards of CircuitPython and more on Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Let's do some Python hardware. All right. So a little bit of a reminder. I put this in the chat. Don't forget, Scott, tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central Time, Bluetooth app development with CircuitPython. Do check that out. We have a bunch of stuff. Let's see how many are left. 90. Okay.
Yeah, they're taken down.
Yep. Tick. Our CircuitPython on hardware newsletter. We do this every single week. Some Pi 5 details. Some CircuitPython 8 updates.
Yeah, we're getting ready
So,
for 9 alpha.
Yeah, I was about to say 9. Numbers.
Well, we're doing the 8s while we prepare for the
Yeah,
9s.
so CircuitPython 9 is coming, but we have the 8 to 7 release. There's a couple more boards. Some really neat projects this week. This MicroPython calculator is really cool. We're going to start adding some of the Adafruit Playground. These are notes, guides that anyone can make. We'll talk about that later on in the show, but we're going to have that in the newsletter since there's a lot of Python-based ones. And then check out just the menagerie of projects. Hackaday, site I founded a million years ago, have nothing to do with now, but I like seeing things that's why I started the site. This is the type of stuff I wanted to see. They have a Hackaday badge for SuperCon, and you can do MicroPython stuff. So,
It's a cute looking badge.
yeah,
I like the little joystick.
cool. And it's a screen on it, and I like seeing my logo. The logos.
I like the combination of big
Like
and
seeing
small
it.
buttons.
Like
Yeah,
seeing it.
nice.
It still works.
And it works great on a round display.
Yeah. So check out all the projects and more. However, this week, what we're going to talk about is there's a bunch of stuff going on in the world of Python.
Yes.
So we've got the virtual environment usage, and then on Playground, we also have the comparing the GPIO stuff.
Which one do you want me to talk about first?
I don't know. Do you want to just talk about like what the issue is, and then kind of like instead of being jerks on GitHub or social media, we're just gonna help solve it and do good documentation. That's our idea. So,
Okay.
what it is, it's our idea.
It's our day. Well, we're also going to hang back. So
Yeah.
basically, as of Bookworm, which is the latest release of the Raspberry Pi operating system, which is also going to be the it's going to be the operating system that's required for use with the Raspberry Pi 5. Um, they've changed. Debian has changed how they do Python package installation, which everyone always makes fun of Python packaging. Because they're using Python as part of the operating system and utilities, they don't want you to be able to mess up that install. And so instead of letting you just do sudo pip and install into like the root or main site packages folder, they're kind of requiring every user to make a virtual environment that will then keep all your packages in like your home directory, for example. And this is technically correct. Like you technically should do that. It is the right thing to do. It's not very punk, and we're kind of punk, and we're still kind of investigating, you know, even that's the right thing to do to have a virtual environment. There's about a decade's worth of Raspberry Pi tutorials that don't talk about that, and nobody's going to go and update all of them. Like we're happy to update all of the Adafruit guides, but there's just no chance that every Instructable and every Hackster and every Element 14 and every blog post
Yeah.
is going to be updated. A lot of people use pip, and what you're supposed to do is set up your environment beforehand. So I think there's some discussion about it. Raspberry Pi folks, you know, have some opinions. Other people have opinions. We haven't yet decided what we're going to do because it's a big decision. We don't want to make a decision and then take it back. There's a couple of things. One, we could tell people, hey, just disable this inability and just like install sudo pip anyways. We could have our Blinka script automatically set up your virtual environment in your bash profile so it always gets configured when you start up. We could update every tutorial to say, hey, here's what your virtual environment should be, and you'll just have to turn it on before you begin. There's no real right answer. It's definitely going to be a bit of a mess. We kind of want to see what other folks want to do because each one has pros and cons. And honestly, I just can't make that decision right now. I'm just a little too tired with the baby. So to that end, we have a guide that Carter wrote. I asked him to write it, and Carter's Carter's one of our best guide writers for beginner topics about virtual environments and how it affects the Raspberry Pi in specific. There's lots of guides about virtual environments, but because you might be using sudo to do NeoPixel stuff, in particular, it's important to kind of know the intricacies of setting up this virtual environment. So this guide talks about that and specifically talks about how to do it with sudo and what doesn't work and what does. So the answer is no answer, but we at least have a guide that we can reference to. So thanks, Carter, for writing it.
Yeah. So we'll see how things go, but generally speaking, maybe our community, which I think is pretty big, can kind of set a good example. Like stuff's gonna come up, and the last few years, people are just rewarded for being terrible to one another. So I would just say, like, especially for open source maintainers, a lot of a lot of people are demanding. There's mean people. They're like, do this now for me. They're basically like, I want to speak to your manager, and like treating us and others like customer service. It's the type of person that if you're at a restaurant and they're yelling at the wait staff, like no one likes that. Don't be that person. So I think we're just going to try to figure out what's the best thing we can do. So we started writing guides. That's what we always do. Like when something,
Just exploring what
what
is
can we
it?
do to solve this?
Because I was like, I don't know how it like does this even
Yeah.
work with NeoPixels and sudo and how is that going to happen?
Yeah. So we have so we got that, and then did you want to talk about this other stuff here or?
Yes, sorry. And then on the other side, we want to make sure that Blinka. So one of the really good decisions that we did make, it's like some decisions I'm putting off and some decisions I made that I'm glad I did. So having Blinka as our interface library so that we can have the CircuitPython API available on CPython, the Raspberry Pi, has been a really good idea because historically a very, very long time ago before Blinka, we used RPi GPIO for all of our Raspberry Pi GPIO toggling, and tweaking. And turns out that as with the Raspberry Pi 5, because of the new RP1 chip, RPi.GPIO no longer works. And it's unclear if they're going to update it to work. And so, because we happen to have been supporting Blinka on other single board Linux computers, and those were using libgpiod, which is the new kernel module that is recommended for GPIO interfacing. We already had support for libgpiod in Blinka, and like Melissa was able to turn it on like fairly quickly, in a day, not in like weeks. And so Blinka has been updated to use libgpiod. One thing that I did notice a while ago was that GPIOD was not as fast as memory mapping, which RPGPIO does. Memory mapping is always going to be the fastest, but it requires permissions and it's like kind of dangerous. And you're like prodding memory and it's like you're kind of poking into somebody's brain. And so I asked Melissa, could you please check GPIO 0, which is kind of like the official Raspberry Pi GPIO interface library for Python, and the GPIOD Python bindings, and compare them. You can scroll down, and she did a great job. And keep going, keep going, keep going, and even posted up the Sele outputs. So basically, it turns out that GPIOD can go up to about like 550 kilohertz toggle speed. Up and down is going to be 280, so you double that to get the toggle speed, because there's 2 toggles per frequency. And then on libgpi, sorry, in GPIO 0, it's about 200 kilohertz. So you're going to get like about 3 times speed with GPIOD. 600 kilohertz is pretty good, actually, considering it's going through this like secondary chip. 600 kilohertz. It's not fast enough to do neopixels, but you wouldn't do that anyways. You would use like the PIO sub capability. But basically just, documenting this. And if other people, because I knew somebody's going to say, hey, why don't you use GPIO 0? And it's like, I have documentation now. So what we're doing is documenting.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing while people are just lobbing insults at each other about all this stuff. So that is our Python on hardware. Lots of stuff going on, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So just stay tuned to all of our documentation updates. Stop by the shows. We'll tell you, what we're up to. But that's our plan, is to just do great documentation, great products, and
That was a bit of a rant.
yeah, whatever.
Sorry, it's okay. Now we'll keep going.
We send out this newsletter every single week. adafruitdaily.com. It's a completely separate website because we hate spam even more than you do. And you can sign up there. It has nothing to do with your Adafruit store account. You can subscribe, unsubscribe anytime. You don't even have to subscribe to the newsletter. You can look at a standalone page that's a permalink that doesn't have any tracking.
Also,
on
it's in
WordPress.
GitHub.
It's on GitHub. It's an RSS feed.
Wow.
I had someone saying that like tracking, it's like we have every way for it to be the best privacy saving way. We have to use tools like MailChimp that send out things and there's links that you can't stop tracking. We have other ways to read the newsletter.
My favorite is some people like, oh, what's so hard? Why can't you just send out a couple 100,000 emails? I'm like, have you actually tried to send more than 1,000 emails? It's really hard.
So that's why we jump through all these hoops. And like I said, if you want to, you don't ever need to even subscribe to the newsletter. You can just go to the page, and we've been de-Googleifying. Nothing against Google, well, besides some other. I do have some Google issues. But you can just go to Adafruit Daily and just you can just read it every single week. We have the link right here. Yeah, it's cool.
Okay.
It's great. Okay. Anyways, that's a newsletter. Okay, let's talk about some open source hardware, Ladyada.
Yep.
We're on this week.
Yeah, we're just
Whatever. It's exciting. It's exciting.
Okay.
First up, what's on the big board?
Okay, so I talked about the Great Carter VN tutorial. Read it if you're like me, you don't know much about virtual environments for Python because you've been lazy and just doing sudo pip your entire life. I've also got a guide, thanks to Liz, who wrote a Python library for the HUSB 238 power delivery breakout. Handy little board, gets you 5 to 20 volts at up to 3 or 5 amps out of USB PD. I also, knowing Pedro did a case for it, which is wonderful. I did an update to the Feather RP2040 radio guide. Turns out that the USB pins on the RP2040 are quite sensitive, which we actually knew about. But if you have a LoRa board and you have it at like the max power and you have an antenna that is close to the board, it can cause the USB to be flaky. So we have some solutions for you. And then, do you mind scrolling? Let's see if there's any other guides. I think, yeah, we just had an update to the HTS 221, probably added
Okay.
whippersnapper, and then another update to this Qualia guide. So nothing else.
Yeah, and then a little bit of a reminder: we have people really like the Adafruit learning system, and so we opened it up so folks can author their own guides. We're calling these notes. It's the Adafruit Playground. This is experimental for now, but you can check out every single week, and I'll go back to
Just click on Playground.
Yeah, by the way,
it's cool.
yeah, by the way, there's still
There's still Raspberry Pis?
yeah, there well,
Okay.
maybe
Okay.
let's see how many left.
Refresh. Oh,
56 left.
less.
So there's less.
Okay.
So. Anyways, you can go to Playground, and these are a bunch of guides that folks contributed to, and our idea is, and I'm not going to name websites because it's practically all of them. But when you go to a website and share your content now, the whole idea is they monetize it, they put ads on it, they put the, all the intrusive things that
Phil, how many Playground notes can people read before they are forced to sign up for an account? There is no limit.
No.
Infinite.
You have to have an account to publish, but
Just to publish.
yeah, but people don't have to log in to read them.
Yeah.
So one of the trends we saw was all of the sites that are like, please put up your stuff. You have to log in to see them, which kind of defeats the purpose. It's
You know what I really hate?
it's
When
called a
you're-
paywall.
When you're scrolling and then halfway through the scroll,
Yeah.
it pops up and it's like, you
So
can't read anymore.
We decided like let's make the best place for people to share projects, but let's not have ads. Let's not have any forced. You have to log in to read them. Let's not have any weird, invasive cooking, tracking, and all that stuff. So this is an experiment. It's supported by Adafruit. Just maybe pick up some hardware once in a while. And we'll see how it goes. But check it out. So far, it's working out. We did a soft launch.
Yes.
But the idea is just to have the best place online to share the things that you make that are important to you.
I see some people who are in the chat
Yeah.
have also put up some projects. It's really starting to kick off.
And one big
It's easy.
thing, so the other sites that are out there that ask for user contributed content, there's a couple things that we saw that everyone can run their business the way they want, but they turn into brand sponsorships that have contests, and so it's impossible to actually find stuff, and there's a lot of cutting and pasting code from other sites, and then you still have to log in to see anything, and we're like, let's not do that. And then
Remember, like that one site that if you wanted to see the entire project in one page,
yeah,
like made you
have
have to
log in.
pay to see
it's
it.
pay or log in and stuff like that. So we're like, well, what can we do instead of trying to monetize people's privacy? Because that's essentially what it is, or there lots of other terms that could be used for that strategy, but we're not doing it because we're not supported by ads. So check out Playground. We're calling these notes for now. We'll see how it goes. It's an experiment.
It's just a start. It's only been like 2 or 3 weeks. It's
Yeah,
very new.
you can see this is there was pent up demand for something like this, and that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
Here is some factory footage. And that's made in New York City factory footage. All right, we're gonna do some 3D prints. We got a couple projects this week from Noah and Pedro, and one of them was a speed up. One of them was a project that you can make yourself. Don't forget 3D Hangouts is every single week, Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Take it away, Noah and Pedro.
You can add USB-C power to your devices with the Adafruit HUSB 238 Power Delivery Breakout. This breakout lets you get up to 100 watts of power over USB-C for those projects that need more than 5 volts at 2 amps. You can set the output voltage using the onboard jumpers or control it over I2C using a microcontroller. It's great for turning those devices with wall adapters into USB-C powered ones using a USB PD power supply. Our 3D printed case snap fits and features access to the USB-C port, screw block terminals, and wires. This keyboard comes with a wall adapter that we can replace with our HUSB 238 breakout. The wall adapter has information on voltage, amps, and jack polarity. This one is 12 volts, 1 amp with a center positive jack. We can cut the cable to reuse the DC barrel jack. Using a multimeter, we can determine which wire is ground and which is power by testing continuity. Now we can solder the 12 volt jumper on the HUSB 238 breakout board to set the voltage for powering our keyboard. Using wire strippers, we can expose the wires and secure them to the screw block terminals. The 3D printed case keeps the breakout safe and secured. Now we can plug in the DC jack into the keyboard. We can power the breakout with a USB PD power supply that's capable of outputting high voltages. Now we can power on the keyboard with a USB-C cable. We think this is a handy breakout for gadgets that might have missing wall adapters, or if you just want to USB-Cify your favorite devices.
Okie dokie, and then just a little check on how many Raspberry Pi
Okay, I like this live.
are left. There's 37 in stock. Let me
We did notify some people, so
Yeah.
folks, if you want one,
yeah, there's
or if you have a friend who wants one,
just
we are limiting.
yeah, it's on one per customer.
It's one per customer. Maybe you like your.
So there's 37 left. So
Okay.
that went pretty fast, and this worked out really well. So we'll probably do something like this again to support the community that's watching the live shows. Let's do some Ion MPI.
on MPI.
Ion MPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. This week it is eSwitch. Ladyada, what is the new product that's coming out this week that's new, that's interesting from eSwitch on DigiKey?
I don't think we've done eSwitch before, just
So-
exciting. So this week on INPI, we're going to cover eSwitch's new, I don't remember the part number, it's like TL3310. Basically, the reverse mount SMT tap switch. This is a pretty neat switch. Most people are really familiar with your standard 6x6mm tactile switch. We use them in tons of projects. They're in like every beginner kit for learning electronics. We've got them in this Raspberry Pi, or this Arduino Shield. You can see at the bottom left, you have a little nav switch, a navigation up, down, left, right, and the select and the reset button. So these are really common. They're very inexpensive, only a couple cents a piece. And their users basically like input. Now, on our projects, we tend to have them be, bare on the PCB, either through hole or surface mount. Although usually they're in a product, but they're hidden behind button caps. So we'll mention, if you want just those plain through hole switches, there's like 50,000 in stock from eSwitch on DigiKey. So, just because we're covering this reverse surface mount switch, reverse surface mount tactile switch. There's also a through hole, standard 6mm surface mount, standard 6mm. I love this style because, of course, you don't have to through hole solder it. You can just pick and place it. Works great. And then another neat thing that I noticed is there's also reverse mount through hole. So in this case, you definitely would need to have some actuator that goes down and clicks it, because otherwise like your finger would bump into it. So this is, this is just a demonstration. Usually when you have a user panel, the caps would be held by the front panel. They would be kind of floating in place, like a game controller, and then there would be a little nub that would go down and click the tactile actuator itself. But the reason I think that these got a little bit of attention, just coincidentally, is we posted on our blog this really cool project, the Lisp badge. And one of the design decisions this person made, it's like a little handheld computer, is that the buttons would be reverse mounted so that you could have the labeling on the PCB. So the PCB is the front plate, and then the reverse mount tactile switches poke through. And in this case, they used surface mount, reverse mount buttons, and they talk about it, dealing with the thickness of the PCB. And they use this kind of like angled mode, so you can see that the legs are interdigitated, so that they get a nice tight packing. It's equidistant from each digit, so a very good look. And then somebody posted on social media, we got tagged in because everyone was like, what is this? What do you mean that there's such a thing as reverse mount tactile switch? And I was like, coincidentally, DigiKey just put this in their featured section. Check out digikey.com/new if you haven't checked it out, because that's where we saw this, this reverse mount tactile switch. So this is, I'm going to get the part number, the RT reverse tactile 3301. And this comes in tape and reel, which is handy. The ones we stock in our shop only come in a bag. But if you want to actually use these in a production environment, you'll definitely want to have them on tape and reel. You do not want to hand place them. And of course, they're e-switch quality, so they're good for like 250,000 presses, or like 100,000 presses or more. And 200. This is a 260 gram force actuation, so nice and clicky. When you mount them, you do want to. In this case, the PCB layout, I will say that they have. Those pads are a little small. I would actually embiggen them a little bit, because you want to have a good mechanical connection to the PCB in case somebody really presses down, because you don't have the body of the switch isn't taking the force, it's the solder connections. And of course, you're also going to want to have the big cutout hole in the center where the actuator goes through. I will mention in this one that the actuator length doesn't go beyond the PCB. This is designed for, again, a situation where you have actuator buttons on the outside, because most people do not design PCBs where the actuator goes all the way through and is accessible to the user. Having it flush actually makes a lot of sense, because then you can have a button pad on top that when people press the button, it presses down and activates the tactile switch. And then if you want other tactile switches, do check out eSwitch's, very popular brand on DigiKey. They've got, pretty much every combination and size and color, lots of surface mount versions in different configurations. And like I showed you, lots of through hole, surface mount and reverse through hole, as well as this reverse surface mount version. But if you want the RT3301, don't forget, they are in stock at DigiKey.
On DigiKey, and we happen to have a video.
It's a very silly video.
Okay, well, we're here for it. We're here for it.
But we're here,
Yeah.
and we're being silly.
We're also going to see silly videos about electronics. This is what you show up for the Raspberry Pi 5s, which there's some still left because this is a live show, except for unless you're watching it not live. And for silly videos about electronics, here we go.
Next up, we got a very versatile switch making its eSwitch debut. Let's go to our shouting cowboy, Anthony Variano, for its introduction.
Now approaching the ring, making its eSwitch debut, wrestling out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, a top-actuated reverse surface mount switch measuring 6 by 6 millimeters and featuring a life expectancy of 100,000 cycles. I present to you the RT3301 series tactile switch.
The RT3301 series can fly up the top rope and needs just 260 grams of force to actuate. And as a reverse surface mount switch, it can reverse any move you attempt. Don't let its small size fool you. It can last a long time in the ring. It can handle the heat with an operating temperature range of -40 to 85 degrees Celsius. The electricity in the arena won't phase it either, thanks to its 50 milliamp 12 VDC electrical rating. It comes as a tag team and tape and reel packaging with 1,000 pieces per reel, ready for automated installation. It's an ideal match for audio-visual applications, computer peripherals, consumer electronics, instrumentation, telecommunication devices, and medical equipment. As always, we recommend going to our website e-switch.com for the complete product page and our full catalog of Switch products. Thank you for watching.
Olympia.
Okie dokie,
I told you
and
it was a silly video.
yeah, and before we go to new products, let's see if there's any pie. There is 18 left.
Okay.
So if you're on the fence, you could still get one. It's going to be gone shortly. Let's do some new products. Okay, we've got a round display.
Okay, so this big round display, we've actually, you're like, hey, I think this sounds familiar. Yes, we had it as a coming soon, and now it is in stock. And I even have a little demo because I've been working on eyeballs code with it. Hold on. It's plugged in. You can go. Okay, so this is a gigantic.
Big eye.
So we've got the gigantic eyeball code ported to it. It's a little flickery because this is using IDF4, not IDF5.
Also through
It's also
camera.
through a camera. So there's like 3 cameras involved. But the colors is really good looking.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, the color is really good. This is actually pixel doubled too, by the way. This is 360 by 360 pixel doubled up. We're going to try to port this code to IDF5 so it looks even better, but in CircuitPython it works, in Arduino it works. 720 by 720 pixels, massive display. I'm also getting a capacitive touch one. It's going to be more expensive. So I think if you just need a display, you don't need the touch capability. This is the biggest round display we could find. We went out, we used our eyes, and we found this.
Okay.
Okay, we also have a bunch of Raspberry Pi accessories. So the active cooler for the Pi 5 is a board that plugs in, it like attaches to the Pi 5. You can see like the Pi 5 is not included. This is the thing that's not, it's like the heat sink plus the fan. It plugs in. You will probably need to use a lifter for the 2x20 connector if you want to connect GPIO on top. But if you're doing like a lot of machine learning stuff or like high intensity CPU things with your Raspberry Pi 5, this will help get you the most frequencies, the highest computational capability, because otherwise, once the Raspberry Pi heats, it'll start throttling itself so that it doesn't keep using as much CPU. So like it'll get slower and slower the hotter it gets. With this, you get all of that computational power.
Okay, and then there's cables.
There's cables. This is the Pi display cable. So this is like a demonstration to show. So we have both the display cable and the camera cable, and they are not the same. Yes, I know. It's confusing.
Hey, look at these nearly identical things.
They look identical, but
What
they're
about
not.
this? What about this? What about this?
They're a little bit different. But this is the display cable showing. So if you have like a Raspberry Pi 4 display, or you have any of the Raspberry Pi cameras, you're going to need an adapter cable because the new connectors are 4-lane and they're much, to make space for the PCIe connector. They made these 0.5 millimeter pitch. You see this like $1 connector, and then you can use all your old accessories with the Pi 5.
So yeah, get one of these. And then the star of the show, besides you, Ladyada, our community, our customers, and everybody out there who's being good to one another, is
the LM66200. This is Ideal Diodes. Actually, made this breakout because I'm going to be using this chip in a design. Basically, if you have 2 power supplies on your board, say a li-poly battery or USB, or like a DC power jack and USB, whatever, and you want to have your electronics use whichever is like available. So sometimes the battery's plugged in, use that. Sometimes a DC plug is powered in, or USB or whatever. So decide which power supply to use. You can use two diodes and you connect them up as like a diode OR connection, and that will give you whichever is highest, that's the current and the voltage supplier. But you have to deal with the dropout of that diode, which can be like half a volt, which can, like that's a lot of power that you might be losing, especially for low power situations. Also, the diodes are kind of large. Also, you don't have an enable switch, which you can do with another transistor. And then maybe you want to know which one is the one that's activated. So this is kind of like combines about 7 transistor diode components together into one. You can connect your 2 to 5 volt inputs to the V-ins. There's 1 and 2, and then ground. And the V out will be whichever one is higher. And there's also a enable pin. You pull that high. By default, it's pulled low to turn on. You pull it high, and it will disable the voltage. And then there's also a status pin that'll tell you which of the two is like the one that's activated. So it's like a very smart version of Ideal Diodes. It's an inexpensive small board, but probably very handy. I think you do like 2.5 amperes out, which is nice. Also more than most diodes, and only 40 milliohm RDS on, so negligible voltage drop. So great for low power usage, or just power supplies where you don't want to dissipate a bunch of current through a couple of MBR 120s.
Mr. Products. Yeah. Okay.
High five, but we kind of
Don't forget the code is dual diodes.
Yeah.
Doesn't apply to the Raspberry Pi 5. There is like 3 left, I think. Let me double check. I think there's
beep 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 beep. Oh,
now out of stock. Okay.
wow.
All right. So thank you,
Wow.
everyone. This is like kind of like QVC. Here's I do want to say, unfortunately, you kind of have to hear the good and the bad sometimes. It's the way it is. So, we prepare our teams, and I'm just talking to everyone. No one had any problems logging in. 2-factor authentication was okay, and no one threatened our team.
Wow.
Yeah, and no
So
one
great.
sent a personal email to Lamore saying how they were gonna like murder her. I'm not even kidding. This has happened over the last couple of years because of part shortages of Raspberry Pis.
Yeah.
And like they're nonsense. Like it's not real, but it's like it does suck to get that type of thing in when it's like, okay, sorry, there's things out of stock, and yeah. So I want to thank everyone who just made this super easy. We'll probably do something like this again,
I'm
because
so happy.
well, yeah. So thank you everybody for being a good community. There's nothing really out there like it, so I think we're gonna keep doing it this way. Let's do some questions. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. I got a top secret, but I'm gonna play that at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're gonna do a little different, so we can get a couple of these questions, and then we'll pop over to
Is
top secret. Okay.
okay. Fine.
Yeah, we're doing good on time.
Yeah.
So first up, are there any plans to update Pi portals with the ESP32S3?
Yes, I do. And then part of doing the qualia board is, I might want to do larger Pi portals as well. So I wanted to make sure that the ESP32S3 was in good shape. But yeah, the Matrix portal was the first of the SAMD-ification of my product lines, because the SAMD51 is tough to get. So
this is an interesting one because when the Raspberry Pi came out, there was a Western Digital thing. So now that the new Raspberry Pi 5 exposes PCIe, do you think Western Digital will be interested in doing a similar project? Their hard disk edition, but with a smaller SSD. I still use my Western Digital Pi for development and upgrade away from spinning res would be nice.
that is like a classic, but I was like Western. Oh yeah.
Tag them on social media or email them.
That was like original Pi. I mean, they should. It would be really cool to do a little hat that has a built-in SSD. I don't know. I actually don't know if Western Digital, do they do SSD? They must.
Yeah.
I don't know who actually makes them.
Let's see. Let me go to you talked about USB-C supplies that can do PD multiple voltages. Where do you get one that you use in your demo?
I'll be honest, you can just get them online from like Amazon or from Best Buy. It's very common. They're just check the product information. Like I actually have a couple, so my Apple, like this Apple power supply that I got, you have for your laptop or for, an iPad. This is a travel charger. Basically anything that's larger than the smallest brick is going to be, this one has 5, 9, 12, 15, 20 volts. It's actually not that uncommon. If you look for one that's like, oh, can you be used for laptops, you're definitely going to get multiple voltages. I've seen basically either you have 5 volts, 2 amps, or 5, 9, and 12. like I've seen, inexpensive, like little bricks that do 5, 9, and 12. If you want to get like 15, 18, and 20, you do usually have to get for the laptop size bricks. But they're, as long as you just look at the product info, they'll tell you that they can supply those voltages.
Yeah, so it was almost 200 pies in 1 hour that
Yeah.
I went.
It's not that bad. Like it
yeah.
used to be 200.
Yeah,
pies in,
this
like, 3
the reason
minutes.
why this was probably chill and everything is no one expected this, and I think maybe that the bots and the attempts or the notifications or whatever, all the attempts or people that are like camping out on websites hitting refresh so they can buy one and resell it. I think they weren't expecting it this early this week because the pies have gone to some resellers.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is. Also, it's a Wednesday night.
It's unusual to
And we
pick.
also let everyone know who was watching our shows, and we have hundreds of people watch our shows live. So I'm gonna show the top secret now, and then we'll answer any questions, and then we'll bounce. I want to make sure we got to those questions before I did top secret.
Okay.
So here's top secret.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, Ladyada, what is this?
Peekaboo, I see you. This is our M4 ICE code, but it's been ported now to the ESP32S3 on the Qualia board. This is like first light, the first working eyeball. So you see, like I have a little bit of like math. I think this is a UInt 18 that 8 that should be a 16. So you see that there's a little bit of gray around here, but the pupil is working and the iris and the eyelids, and so we're making good progress. This is a 480 by 480 screen, and then I'm also going to try to get it working on the 720 by 720 screen.
Yeah.
For this, this is already like kind of working hard, 10 frames per second. For this one, I'm probably going to do pixel doubling, so it'll be 360 by 360 and then pixel doubled up to 720 by 720, which I'm sure it'll look fine. It'll be gigantic. But yeah, anyways, first eyes.
And that's top secret. Okay, I just want to get to those questions and make sure I got to everyone and everything.
Yes.
I think that is it. There was some other questions. I'll do the AdaBox update as usual. So one of the things that we're doing is doing a small number of AdaBoxes before the end of the year. We're restarting that machine to get the AdaBoxes out.
It's rusty.
Yeah, and so we're going to be going low and slow, as they say. So don't worry, we'll put things on the website, we'll contact people. But that's the idea, is to get these out slowly. There's thousands of them. Give people a chance to. If you don't want AdaBox, no problem. We have way more signups than we ever thought we would. I thought maybe AdaBox would go away over the part shortage if people didn't want to wait. Turns out, nope, just more demand. So what we're going to do is just notify people slowly at a time. Hey, your AdaBox subscription is going to be coming to you soon. Here's, if you want to update your credit card or if there's anything that you need to do beforehand, please let us know, and then ship these out slowly. Yes, it'll probably leak out what it is, whatever. It's better than not doing it and giving up. So that's the plan.
Never give up. Never give in.
Yeah, so that's the plan. Yeah. Thanks. Here's one. Getting my question in early. What's a good way to program a PCB with SOIC 8 chip with minimal design modification? I've been using the in-circuit programming clip to attach directly to the IC, but it's very finicky. Should I use test points on my programming chips? Something else? Thanks for the opportunity to buy Pi 5.
I think, it depends on what the if it's a SPI flash, then yeah, like a clip is kind of the best way to do it. If it's something like a AT Tiny or something that uses UPDI, I'll just bring out the pins pins that you can solder to, like through hole pads, and then just take them away once you've gotten the design formalized. And then when you're doing mass programming, you use pogo pin pads.
Okay. And then another little nice comment. Thanks for keeping AdaBox alive. Very much appreciate. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We just know that there's, a couple of years of trying to play catch up between, COVID and the part shortage. And we decided, like, well, if people continue to keep their subscriptions, because we don't charge until we ship it, then we'll keep doing it. And then, some folks will say, oh, it's been a year. I don't want to AdaBox anymore. The opposite happened. we have thousands of signups for people who want to get in. So what we want to do is ship out this Ada box and then expand the number we can do. Turns out people want cool, interesting electronics delivered to them every quarter.
Yeah.
We want to even figure out if there's more we can do. So that is the show for tonight. Thank you so much, everyone. We will see everybody next week. Thanks for the positive reinforcement for us to try things different than what other folks are doing to get things out like the Pi 5 and more. That was a success. Our team behind the scenes is really happy about how things worked out. They just popped in to see how it went. And so our team thanks you. There's humans behind the scenes who help run everything in Adafruit. And when things work out, we're all very happy. So thank you for that. We'll see everybody next week. This has been an Adafruit production. Here is your moment of Zener.
Thanks, everybody.